Your only child, I presume?
Yeah.
Laughter echoed through packed cinemas. Cheeky innuendos slipped past censors, and a cast of unforgettable faces turned low-budget comedies into British legends.
Why shouldn't I be all right? I look all right, don't I?
Oh, you've never looked better, Sir Bernard.
Then why did you ask me how I was?
But time has a way of dimming even the brightest spotlights. The stars who made us blush, giggle, and gasp with laughter didn't stay forever. One by one, the iconic faces of this beloved franchise took their final bow, some after long, celebrated careers, others far too soon.
The actress Barbara Windsor, who became known through the Carry On films and EastEnders, has died at the age of 83.
Today, we look back at the legendary performers who brought the saucy humor to life and remember the ones we've sadly lost. This is all Carry On, cast members who died, every actor we've lost. With his gravelly voice and a laugh that sounded like rocks in a cement mixer, Sid James was the quintessential carry-on leading man. Born Solomon Joel Cohen in Johannesburg, the former hairdresser and South African Army lieutenant reinvented himself in Britain, becoming the nation's favorite lovable rogue across 19 films. He was the world-weary cynic, the lecherous schemer with an eye for the ladies, most famously his co-star Barbara Windsor, with whom he had a passionate, decade-long affair that was an open secret on set. But his life was a constant gamble, quite literally. He was a compulsive bettor who lost fortunes at the track. On April 26, 1976, during the opening night of a comedy called The Mating Season at the Sunderland Empire Theatre, his luck finally ran out. The 62-year-old suffered a massive heart attack and collapsed in his chair on stage. The audience, accustomed to his on-stage antics, roared with laughter, believing it was all part of the act. It was a tragically public curtain call for a man who had made a career out of making people laugh. In 17 carry-on films, Peter Butterworth perfected the role of the bumbling, slightly shifty, but ultimately lovable fool. He was the incompetent servant, the lecherous campsite owner, the man whose plans always went disastrously wrong. But the actor who played these hapless characters concealed an astonishingly heroic past. During the Second World War, Butterworth was a lieutenant in the Royal Navy Fleet Air Arm, shot down over the Netherlands, and captured. He became a prisoner of war at Stalag Luft III, the very camp made famous by the film The Great Escape. He was even one of the vaulters who helped conceal the digging of the Wooden Horse escape tunnel. In a supreme irony, when he later auditioned for the film adaptation, he was turned down for not looking heroic or dashing enough. He married actress and impressionist Janet Brown, and their shared gravestone carries the inscription he chose: "Life is real, and death is the illusion." Butterworth died suddenly of a heart attack in January 1979 at the age of 63 in his hotel room in Coventry after a pantomime performance. She was the heart of the Carry On films, the formidable matron with a booming voice and a secret soft spot for the men who drove her to distraction. Hattie Jacques, a trained dancer in her youth who served as both a Red Cross nurse and a welder during the Second World War, brought a surprising grace to her larger-than-life characters in 14 films. Her most famous on-screen partnership was with Eric Sykes in their long-running sitcom, but her most dramatic real-life story involved her husband, Dad's Army star John Le Mesurier. In the early 1960s, she fell in love with a younger car dealer named John Schofield and moved him into the family home. To protect her career from scandal, Le Mesurier publicly accepted blame for the divorce, moving into the spare room while his wife lived with her lover under the same roof. It was an act of quiet dignity that defined their lifelong friendship. In 1974, she turned down an OBE to shield her sons from press attention. Hattie passed away from a heart attack in her sleep in 1980 at just 57, leaving a void as large as her on-screen presence.
Infamy! Infamy! They've all got it in for me!
As Julius Caesar in Carry On Cleo, Kenneth Williams delivered one of the most famous lines in British comedy, but it was a sentiment that mirrored his own tortured existence. On screen, he was the master of the flared nostril and the acidic put-down, appearing in 26 Carry On films, more than any other actor. Off-screen, he was a deeply lonely intellectual who confided his despair to 43 volumes of personal diaries, which he began keeping in 1942. A trained engraver and mapmaker, he was a man who craved affection, but was terrified of intimacy, a homosexual in an era of persecution who sublimated his desires into his work on shows like Round the Horn and 20 years as a panelist on Just a Minute. On April 15, 1988, at the age of 62, he was found dead from a barbiturate overdose. The coroner recorded an open verdict, leaving the world to wonder if it was an accident or a final desperate act. His last haunting diary entry read, "Oh, what's the bloody point?" She was the pocket-sized blonde bombshell, the giggle and the wiggle that lit up 9 Carry On films. Barbara Windsor was the embodiment of cheeky seaside humor, forever immortalized in the iconic scene from Carry On Camping where her bikini top flew off during an exercise class. But behind the bubbly persona was a life of extraordinary drama. She had a passionate 10-year affair with her married co-star Sid James, was married to a gangster named Ronnie Knight, and was linked to the Cray twins, footballer George Best, and even B.G. Maurice Gibb. Despite never receiving a penny in royalties from the Carry On films, she found a second, even greater wave of fame as the matriarch Peggy Mitchell in EastEnders, her catchphrase,
"Get out of my pub."
becoming a national institution. In her later years, she faced her greatest battle with courage and openness, becoming a powerful advocate for Alzheimer's awareness after her own diagnosis. When she passed away in a London care home in December 2020 at the age of 83, the nation mourned a true national treasure. Titter ye not. With his badly fitting toupee and a delivery that oozed mock indignation, Frankie Howerd was one of Britain's most beloved and unique comedians. Though he only appeared in 2 Carry On films, his influence on the franchise and British comedy as a whole was immense. He was the master of the rambling monologue, breaking the fourth wall to share his supposed outrage with the audience, a technique he perfected in the hit sitcom Up Pompeii. But his life was a paradox. The man who seemed so confident on stage was crippled by stage fright and a lifelong lack of confidence, even undergoing experimental LSD therapy for his depression. He was a homosexual who kept his relationship with his partner and manager of over 30 years, Dennis Hamer, a secret from the public for his entire career. He even lied about his birth year, claiming to be 5 years younger than he was. In April 1992, at the age of 75, he died of heart failure in his sleep. In a bizarre twist of fate, his friend and fellow comedy legend Benny Hill died on the very same weekend. Appearing in 24 films, more than any other actress, Joan Sims was the versatile backbone of the Carry On series. She could be the lusty farmer's daughter, the haughty aristocrat, or the long-suffering wife, often stealing scenes with a single exasperated sigh. Her co-star Barbara Windsor called her the last of the great carry-ons. But her on-screen vibrancy masked a private life marked by profound loneliness. She never married, and once turned down a proposal of convenience from her friend Kenneth Williams. She struggled for years with depression and alcoholism, a battle that worsened after the deaths of her mother, her agent, and her close friend Hattie Jacques, all came in quick succession. In her later years, she found a new audience in the sitcom On the Up, where her character's catchphrase, "Just the one," as she reached for the sherry bottle, became a darkly ironic echo of her own struggles. She passed away in 2001 at the age of 71 after falling into a coma following a routine operation, a quiet end for the woman who brought so much boisterous life to the screen.
You take a couple of red raisins, 2 whites of eggs, 1 grated earphones. Oh, you wicked bad girl. I shall miss the next program.
With his owlish glasses and a voice that could shatter glass, Charles Hawtrey was the eternal mummy's boy, the camp eccentric of the Carry On crew. Born George Frederick Geoffrey Hawtrey, he borrowed his stage name from a famous Edwardian actor and appeared in 23 of the films, often greeting his co-stars with his signature catchphrase, "Oh, hello."
Oh, hello. Walter!
But his off-screen life was a darker caricature of his on-screen persona, amplified by a crippling addiction to alcohol. He was a solitary and often difficult man who disowned his own family. In 1984, his smuggler's cottage in the seaside town of Deal caught fire after he reportedly fell asleep smoking in bed with a young man. His health deteriorated rapidly, and when doctors told him his legs would have to be amputated due to vascular disease caused by a lifetime of heavy smoking, he refused, reportedly saying he'd rather die with his boots on. He passed away in a nursing home in 1988 at the age of 73. His funeral was attended by just 9 people, with no family or friends among them. At 6'7", Bernard Bresslaw was the gentle giant of the Carry On team. His towering presence, already remarkable from birth when he weighed in at 10 pounds 4 ounces, made him a perfect foil for the shorter comedians. His roles in 14 films ranged from the gormless sidekick to the menacing villain. He was famous for his catchphrase, "I only arsked," which originated in the 1950s TV series The Army Game. But Bresslaw was far from the simpletons he often played. He was a serious, respected actor who performed with the Royal Shakespeare Company and the National Theatre, and was even a published poet with a privately printed volume. He was a devoted family man, married to dancer Betty Wright for over 30 years with 3 sons. His death came as a sudden and tragic shock. On June 11, 1993, the 59-year-old actor collapsed from a massive heart attack in his dressing room at the open-air theater in Regent's Park, where he was about to go on stage in Shakespeare's The Taming of the Shrew. The show, as they say, went on without him that night. Kenneth Connor was the master of nervous energy, the perpetually flustered and downtrodden everyman of the Carry On films, appearing in 17 entries from the very first, Carry On Sergeant in 1958. He could be relied upon to deliver a performance of pure, unadulterated panic. He was a man seemingly always on the verge of a breakdown, his face a mask of comic anxiety. But in real life, Connor was the complete opposite of his on-screen characters. He was a quiet, private family man who was married to his wife, Mickey, for over 50 years and largely shunned the celebrity lifestyle. He had been performing since the age of 2 in his father's concert parties, and by 11 was a seasoned stage veteran. His talent and dedication were recognized with an MBE in 1991 for his services to drama. After a long career that also included a memorable run as Monsieur Alphonse in the classic sitcom Allo Allo, Connor passed away from cancer in November 1993 at the age of 75, at his home in Harrow, surrounded by the family he had always put first. The Carry On films were more than cheeky jokes and double entendres. They were a snapshot of a different era of British comedy. And while the laughter still plays on screen, many of the faces behind it are no longer with us. Their timing, chemistry, and fearless performances created a legacy that continues to entertain generations. Which Carry On star was your favorite? And which performance still makes you laugh the hardest today? Let's keep their memory alive in the comments below. If you enjoyed this tribute, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join our growing community as we continue remembering the stars who shaped film history. Thank you for watching.